We heard from him briefly earlier when he showed me this incredible screen and how you can build your own classroom, and to me it makes no sense. But to you it will, I'm sure. Can we please give a warm Bernasarino welcome to Mr. Lewis Deane from VISR.
Oh no.
What a welcome.
Cool. Wow. People, I haven't given a live presentation in 3 years, so I'll be kind of dusting off my shuffling around the stage awkwardly shoes, and hopefully this will go really well. So hi everybody, my name's Lewis Deane. I'm one of the founders of VISR. VISR, we're based on this big Stage Pro stand in the middle. Please come over and have a chat with the team after the presentation. But I want to talk a little bit about our business, a little bit about our vision, and what we've been up to, for the last decade that we've been building technology in the whole. So I want to talk about a concept called building the virtual metaverse, which, although it sounds like very technical and airy-fairy, it's actually really important to all of our futures, and something I'm very deeply passionate about. So the metaverse is what we call an emergent digital frontier. And when I say emergent digital frontier, I'm talking about transformative technology that's going to significantly change the way that we interact with computers and they interact with us. I've got an interesting sort of question for the audience. Does anyone want to posit an idea of what the last emergent digital frontier was and what it did for us? Smartphones. Interesting answer, but actually smartphones are sort of like a generational evolution of an existing technology. The last digital frontier that we created as a species was the internet. So we decided that we were going to create an interconnected repository of knowledge, and that repository of knowledge was going to be available to everyone anywhere around the world. And it translated and transformed the way that we work with basically every kind of business, every kind of data and information interaction, and it's powered our modern world. Nobody would be here today if they didn't book tickets on the internet or heard about it on the internet. The internet is a core foundational technology that our whole society relies on. And we're standing here on the cusp of creating a new wave of information technology that's going to be incredibly exciting, but also incredibly profound, because transformative technologies like this change the way that we work with information as a species, which is super exciting. Something that's really interesting about the internet is the internet's design hasn't really changed. I found this diagram, which I think was probably the original one that was proposed. And there's actually a picture there of the internet running on a BBC Micro. And although we may have added more forms of multimedia to it, and we may have added faster internet connections and fiber optic to the house and all that kind of stuff, we haven't really changed what we do with the internet. You go on a computer terminal of some kind, and you ask a web page to serve you some content, and it gives it to you, from somewhere else around the world. And there's this big web of connected computers that store all this information, and they give it to you just in time when you want it. But for me, and the phrase I really like, I don't know if anyone's seen the comedian Philomena Kunk show, and she says, money only exists in the imaginations of computers. For me, the internet is currently trapped behind a screen. The internet comes all the way from across the world, through a 4G tower, down to your mobile device, and you look at a rectangle of glass, and you consume it through a box. And all this kind of repository of all the human knowledge in the world is trapped behind a kind of 2-inch piece of glass that you hold in front of your face. And something really interesting has been happening over the last couple of years. In 1965, Moore's law was sort of proposed as an idea. And they said, every year the number of transistors you can fit on a computer is going to double, so you're going to get more power, and you're going to get more RAM, you're going to get more memory, you can store more information, you can process it faster. And up until the last few years, every computing information system that's been built and improved upon, even going from things like BBC Micro to things like this, which hold almost infinitely more computing power, those devices have just been an improvement on an original concept. We're going to make the computer faster, smaller, lighter, or more data dense. But in the last 4 or 5 years, we've been starting to do something else to our computers, which is significantly different. We've been starting to think about machine perception and machine understanding of the world that we live in, and we've been designing different kinds of new processors that don't work like the processors that exist in the world of Moore's law. And you'll see this extension of, every tech company in the world is now talking about AI co-processors in phones, and processors that do machine vision, and processors that do AI and understanding. So we're teaching computers to not only think faster, but be far more contextually aware of the world that we live in, as opposed to the world that they live in. So if the internet is sealed behind a pane of glass and can't break out into the real world, we're starting to build computers that think fundamentally differently about the world that we live in. And they're beginning to understand the world that we live in through eyes and through brains that we're building for them. And that allows us to start to do something really profound that we've never been able to do before. We can start to invite computers into our world with us. We can bring AI and we can bring AR devices out of behind the pane of glass, and they exist in the spatial world that we live in. And when you can do that with a computer, it can start to unlock really profound new capabilities that you've not been able to do before. And with the advent of things like VR, and we're showing a VR-based demonstration on the stand today, and I really would urge anybody who's not had, this is sort of like the Rolls-Royce of VR experience. Anyone who's not had a go should go and just try it to see what it's like. We can also join machines in their worlds, in person. And that's a fundamental change in direction in terms of the way that we deal with information systems, and information systems deal with us. We're going to exist with them, and they'll no longer be the tools that we use. And inside that kind of conjoined relationship between humans and machines and digital and real places, we're going to build this new kind of internet. And this new kind of internet concept is called a metaverse. And it's the concept that we're going to have digital and physical spaces that are filled with content that we're going to create in collaboration with computers, and then we're going to experience it together. And that might be that, you know, the digital map of where everybody is in this room is a form of metaverse content that might be stored on a computer, but if you want to view it through a phone, so that your phone can understand where you are in the room and where the next stand is, or how you get to the fire escape or where the bathroom is, you need to have a collaborative data picture that you share with a machine about this place. And that's actually a kind of very similar way to the way that we work with the web. So let's have a look at a typical experience on the web. So we do the web. I've got LinkedIn up. I'm looking at our post about Tech Week Humber that we put up earlier today. Let's have a look at what you do with the web. What happens when you use the web? So first kind of important key rule is you have a piece of what we call locatable content. You go to a place. How do you get to LinkedIn? You type linkedin.com and you press enter. That's telling the computer, I want you to go to linkedin.com and I want you to give me the content that's at linkedin.com. So you tell the computer which room you're interested in viewing the content from. We then have this ability to share and create rich media. So all this kind of media that we've created, whether it be text content, video content, you know, interactive stuff, games, whatever it is that we might build inside the computer, on the internet, you're able to access it. You can share rich media on it. Anyone who's tweeted a video or done a TikTok or posted something on Snapchat has created rich media and shared it with someone over the internet. You're then able to do something called streamed data. Imagine how useless the internet would be if you had to have the whole internet on your phone to access it. It's a really core concept. All the information on the internet is not on your phone, it's on the internet. And when you want to access that content, you stream it over a radio connection from a cell tower to your mobile device or your PC. And then you consume that content. So streamed media is core to metaverse-like experiences. You're then able to build and generate this content yourself. So you, the users, are the creators and populators of the internet. You know, we had some presentations earlier and they were talking about zettabytes of information. The zettabytes of information on the internet don't come from companies, they come from you, the users of the internet. And then on that internet, you have this idea of an identity. And we talk a lot about privacy and encryption and all these important things because you are a present individual on the internet as you are in real life. So any kind of connected digital experience that's going to change our planet in the same way that the internet does is going to have to pass these certain criteria. It's going to have locatable content, rich media, stream data, user-created content, and have a strong sense of user identity. And this is what we do in the metaverse. So in the metaverse, locatable content, look at the way he moves that arrow to that place in the real world. The rich media is the images, the text, and the video that are part of that AR experience. The stream data is the fact that those training informations come from a server. They're not stored on the device. So you can access thousands of different situations in thousands of different places. The user-generated content. So this experience was built by somebody who works for a business. This was not built by a software engineer, which is hyper important. And the strong user identity is the fact that this is on somebody's head. So this is user-centric AR, XR experience. And that's very similar to the web. And so, you know, as people who use the metaverse, which you can go over into the middle of the room and experience, and as I say, I strongly advise that you do, we as users are going to populate the real world that we live in instead of the digital world that's trapped inside of our phones with our content, our knowledge, our experiences, our emotions in the same way that we have the internet. We're going to build a hybrid digital reality that we're all going to live in. And this is not some sort of like theoretical future thinking vision. This is already happening. You know, the companies in Silicon Valley and their subsidiaries and surrounding ecosystem of businesses are investing billions of dollars into transforming the world into this new future. They've already committed their capital. They've already made the decision that this is the way it's going to go. And software companies will build the fabric of this reality. So there'll be a role for like nerdy people to build technology and deploy servers and create things in the cloud and use IP addresses and software and algorithms to write the underlying foundation of this technology. A bit like the internet. Tim Berners-Lee is a software engineer. But if you look at the majority of people that use the internet today, they're not software engineers, they're just normal people who want to access the information. So although software companies will build the fabric of reality, we need to remember that as software companies, we need to be focusing on building user-centric tools that allow them to dynamically generate and populate content. And for me, it's really important for us to remember that the metaverse will be built by people. People will use great software tools to build virtual, hybrid, and XR experiences. And software companies like ours are going to focus on how you do that. How do you get somebody who works in an office to build a VR environment? Because they do training for an oil and gas business. And they're worried that if there's a fire on site, everyone has to have had a virtual walkthrough of how to escape from the building. That capability needs to come from a tool that they use, not commissioning a software agency for $10,000 an hour, because there'll be no scalability in that market. And so today we've brought along one of our portfolio of products. It's called Stage Pro. Stage Pro is a super hyper simple VR environment builder. It allows anybody, with fundamental knowledge of, can you use a mouse and click on a screen to build a VR experience in about 3 or 4 minutes, to share that VR experience over a connected network like you would an image or a web page on the internet, to download it onto a set of VR headsets and run people through that simulation in a shared room in a shared environment. That's what we're demoing in the middle. You can go in the middle of the room and do all of that in about 10 minutes. And have your first experience building content for the metaverse. That experience is then saved and can be recorded later or distributed within an organization. It's a foundation for how you begin to build content as end users. And I'm kind of super excited to be talking about this in Hull. We've been in Hull for a decade now. We're quite an old and established business. It's quite unusual to be doing such an ethereal technical presentation in this part of the world because we don't have a huge reputation for being great in technology, but strangely, we really are good at it. We've got a university that's been preparing students for about 20 or 30 years to work in this field, almost, through both foresight and coincidence. We're an energy-dense, process-based, business-dense part of the world, so you have access to organizations where this makes a maximum amount of impact. So if I've got kind of a closing note for today, it's that we stand in an opportunity for the foundation of the metaverse to be built in Hull, which is pretty cool, and in the Humber region. You can go and experience everything that I've talked about. So I wanted to talk about the ethereal consequences of it. On the stand, go and see a practical use of how it works. Go and build a VR training simulation that you could show to some of your employees. And I can't wait for everybody to join us in this world that we're going to collaboratively create together. I want to thank you for the time that you've given us today. And yeah, please come and do a demo on the stand. We haven't got any, we've got some free trolley tokens to give away. So if you want a free trolley token, that's the only thing you want to get out of coming and doing a demo, please go and grab one. But again, yeah, thanks to Tech Week Humber for having us, allowing us to have an exhibition stand. Thanks for listening to my talk. And please come and have a chat with us afterwards about what you're going to do in the metaverse. I can't wait. Thanks.